Yo, what's going on, snipers, and welcome back to our Albuquerque Aliens Draft Glory franchise mode here in NHL 25. So in last episode, if you did not catch it, we simulated the entire season, and we have made the playoffs once again, which is not really a surprise. But the thing that was a surprise, as you can see below me, we were first in goals for, goals against, power play percentage, and penalty kill percentage. So we were like literally the most dominant team I think I've ever seen. We only had 59 wins. We didn't even win the President's Trophy though, which was the crazy thing, as we lost it by 1 point. But we were first in every single major category, which is pretty damn amazing for a team to do. Now you can see we literally just lost it by that 1 point, so it came down to the last game of the season. The Ducks end up winning the President's Trophy, so maybe that's good for us. Maybe that means we will actually be able to go far in the playoffs because we didn't win it. But like I said, we were first in literally everything else. We scored 4.22 goals for per game, which you can see is a lot more than the Ducks, who were in second place, a lot more than most teams in the league. We scored 346. The Ducks scored 307, so almost 40 more goals than them. And then in terms of goals against per game, we were very close with Anaheim as well, but we were better by just a little bit. We allowed 2 less goals, so some good defensive play. Our power play percentage was 32.7%, so it continued off last year's playoff success, because last year's playoff success, it was 33% when we won the Stanley Cup. This year, 32.7%, which is 6% basically better than the Anaheim Ducks, which is pretty insane. So really good power play. And then our penalty kill was 89.3%, which is like almost like, I'd say, yeah, like 0.6% better than the Pittsburgh Penguins, who are the next closest on the PKs. So we just completely dominated in everything, and I am very, very proud of this team. Like I said, I don't think we necessarily need to win another Stanley Cup because we won one, but obviously it would be nice to win multiple. But when your team simulates like this, I really just don't really care too much what ends up happening, but I feel like I want this team obviously to win another Stanley Cup for sure, because a lot of these guys are kind of getting older. Like, we have our top line all almost in their 30s at this point, so it would be nice to give one of these guys another Stanley Cup win. But yeah, you can see our production on our team was phenomenal. Like, if we just go forwards, you can see we got really good offense, so especially from our top line. Then we have like our top 6 in general. We have like our third line doing well offensively. Like, we had a lot of goal scorers this season. And from a defensive standpoint, we also got some good offense from guys like Whitfield, which is kind of surprising, to be honest. We had Narena on 49 points. And look at the plus minuses across the board as well on the defensive side of things. Like, everybody was a plus 20 and above. So Narena, even though technically he has been more of a defensive liability, he was good defensively this season, but he was still technically our worst in terms of plus minus, because he was a plus 20, but still insane. And then we had some really good goaltending numbers from our 2 goaltenders, Gionta and Harakawa, both with .917 save percentages and a combined 7 shutouts. So everything worked really well for this team, and I hope that obviously we could continue that into the playoffs. But everything could come crashing down quite easily, because when you have a great season like that, you never know what could happen in the postseason as well. But we are going to be taking on a tough Utah team in a sense, though, because they do have one of the best goal scorers in the league. He actually led the league in goal scoring, just beating out 2 of our guys, Ristolainen and Stelbitz. So I think it's going to be definitely a tough series regardless, but I'm obviously hoping that we can find a way to beat them and continue this great season that we've been on so far. But anyways, before we get into the series against the Utah Hockey Club, let's get into your guys' comments, see what you guys have to say, and then I'll show you guys once again what Utah's lines are looking like, and then we'll get into this first round matchup. So the first comment is from Michael Dose, who says, "You are going to get Limburger cheesed in the playoffs. Stinky. There's no way, nowhere down to go but down," which is true. Literally, because our power play percentage and penalty kill percentage and our goals for, goals against, something like that is going to drop off. I don't think we're going to be still first like that in the playoffs, but honestly, it could be the case. But he says we're going to get Limburger cheesed, which I totally agree. I didn't know what Limburger cheese was. I had to look it up, but yeah, I definitely think we could get cheesed easily in this playoffs, just because of the fact that we had such a dominant season, and Utah has some pretty good threats on it, even though they definitely aren't the best team on paper. They do have some threats, like Larmour, for instance, like, who had 70 plus goals. We'll show you guys the lines in a little bit, but yeah, it's definitely a very tough team in that sense, because they have a good goal scorer like Larmour. Then the last NFL comment is from Simon Taku, says, "I could see this playoff series being a lot of 5-4, 7-6 games, assuming your offense shows up the same way it did during the regular season." And yeah, I can too, in a way, but I also feel like our offense could just completely drop off from the regular season. So I could expect see us getting shut out in multiple games and losing in the first round. But I definitely think it could be a high scoring game as well, just based on the fact that technically if we go to player stats for the entire league, Technically, 3 of the top goal scorers in the NHL are all playing each other in this first round, which is kind of interesting. So you can see Ristolainen with 126 points. You have Staubitz with 120, and then there is Larmour from Utah with 111 and 70 goals. So these 3 guys are all going to literally be playing in the same matchup, which is pretty insane. Sucks that one of them has to go out in the first round, but somebody does. Hopefully it's Larmour, but if it's not, maybe Utah goes on and wins the Stanley Cup because of this guy. Because this guy's had a fantastic career up to this point. Scores a lot of goals. Has won one Richard in his career as well. So he probably deserves a Stanley Cup at some point. But obviously it would be nice if we could win another rather than he does. But if he does have to go win a Stanley Cup, so be it. Let's actually, instead of going to their lines, let's just go to their player stats from the regular season, because I didn't take a look at who did what for them during the season, because I think that'll be a little bit easier in telling who's the players to watch out for. So we know their top line's a threat: Larmour, Cooley, and Iginla. I'm pretty sure they're all on the same line. Actually, maybe Gunther's is up there. No, maybe not. But that, oh yeah, it's definitely not. Yeah, it's Iginla, Cooley, and Larmour. So I guess that they're probably losing Larmour as a left winger, and then Cooley's down the middle, if I remember right. But you can see that top line, pretty similar to ours, was really, really good this season. So going to be a battle of the top lines. You could definitely see that one of their other lines, that is second line likely, Fergus, Gunther, and I would assume it's, Mitchell, I think. Those guys had a little bit of a tougher time defensively, but still they have some pretty good depth scoring to their lineup, it looks like. And then from a defensive standpoint, wow, they actually got 50 points from Michael Buchinger. I'm surprised that this guy's actually assimilating this well. Has been getting better over the last few seasons, but 50 points is really, really solid. So, got to watch out for this guy from an offensive standpoint, I guess. Like, their defensive core doesn't have anybody that's super high in terms of overall, but it looks like they get some good plus-minus across the board, get some good production across the board, too. So, we got to be careful about that. And then from a goaltending perspective, Spencer Knight, 37 years old at this point, has a .913 through the regular season. So, and he's been a bit of a tough playoff goaltender, apparently, in his career. As you can see, rocking a .913 in the playoffs in his career. So, and he's won one Stanley Cup back in 2035 with the Florida Panthers. So this guy has won Stanley Cups. He technically won one in real life, too, I guess. And then there's Hentonen as the backup. So it's definitely going to be a tough task, even though they are a bit more of a cheese team, because containing Larmour is probably going to be the toughest part. Let me actually see. During the regular season, what's his most goals? He actually had a ton of hat tricks this season. God damn, he had 5 hat tricks on the season. So none of them are against us, which is good. But yeah, he's definitely a threat. How did he do against us? 2 goals and 3 points in 3 games. All right. I do actually want to go to our player stats for a second again. I know I'm adding more extra stuff before we actually start simulating, but I did want to go through Ristolainen and Staubitz's and maybe even Kolar's game-by-game stats, because I do want to see basically how many goals they've scored in a game, like the most points they've had in a game. So the most goals in a game that Ristolainen had was 4 goals. He had 6 points that night. He also had a 5-point game this season and multiple 4-point games as well. A lot of 4-point games, actually, for that matter. So he had a killer regular season. But 6 points against Colorado is fantastic. So shout out to Ristolainen in that game. And then Staubitz, I would assume, had a pretty good game that game as well, likely. If we go to game logs, let's take a look at this. Yeah, 6 points against Detroit, though. 5 points against Colorado in that same game. Ristolainen had a lot of points. So both these guys had some multiple point games. There was also a 5-point game preseason for Staubitz. 2 4-goal games. But yeah, definitely Ristolainen was the better of the two. And then if we look at Kolar's, did Kolar's have a good game against Colorado as well, I guess? No, I guess not. But he had a 5-point game early in the season, actually. It was the first game of the year. He had 5 points in it. That's kind of crazy. I didn't even realize that. And in game 40, he had a 4-point game. He also had one in game 62. All right. I just wanted to take a look at that for fun. All right, so there is that. I think we're ready to finally get up into this matchup. I'm excited to see what this team could do in the playoffs, but also I'm a little bit nervous because, like Michael said, literally the only way from here is down. There is technically we could go up from here, but we can't really improve on a regular season at all unless we win a Stanley Cup. But there is definitely room for disappointment, a lot of disappointment in this playoff run. So let's not let any doubt creep into us. Let's build off that great regular season, and let's see if we could also win in the playoffs. So game number 1, obviously we got home ice advantage for the entire playoffs unless we play the Ducks at some point. But let's see what we could do in this first game and see if we could continue that offense and defensive play and also special teams play. First period. Scoreless. I mean, see, I'll take that, but obviously, like I said earlier about Saturn Taku's comment, I feel like there could be some close games in terms of goals against and stuff like that. Like he was saying that some of these games are going to end up like 5-4, 7-6. But at the same time, I feel like our offense can just completely dry up. And so far, after one period, it's kind of like that. Shots are 14-13, so it looks like teams are generating chances. But so far, the goaltenders have been a little bit of more of the difference maker early on here. So can we find a way to get that lead in the second period? Second period? 1-0, that's okay. Good start defensively for us through 2 periods. We've not allowed a single goal through 22 shots. And we score a power play goal. And it's Cashman. Okay. Shots 25-22. We're up by 1. So far, the power play is off to a good start again here in the playoffs. Like I said, last year it was accounted for 33% of our goals in the playoffs was on the power play. So if our power play does good again this postseason, we could be definitely a really good team. So good to see so far. Kind of a little bit worrisome that both teams aren't scoring goals like they should be technically from during the regular season. But if we're going to play a much better defensive brand of hockey in the playoffs, that's okay with me as well. Let's see what happens in period 3. See if we get locked this game down here. Get an insurance marker if we can as well, because that might go a long way. Power play for us. We do not score on it. And they score a power play goal. And, of course, it's the 70-goal guy in Larmour. And he ties it up at 1. But we get the lead right back. Hennessy, who made his NHL debut in the playoffs last year, makes it a 2-1 game. That's a nice regulation goal. Final few minutes. Still up by 1 goal. Can we lock it down? Yes, we can. Peterson gets the empty netter. We're going to win game 1, 3-1. So not a crazy offensive game, because obviously during the regular season we were averaging over 4 goals a game. But that's a very good, solid effort from Gionta and the defensive side of things here early on. Love to see it. Final shots 34-33. We won 3-1. So a nice 32 save performance from Gionta. And then we also got some okay offensive numbers. So that's a really good first game to start off this playoff run. So Cashman from Kim, we had Hennessy from Cashman and Delisle, and Peterson from Kim. So it was pretty much that same line that had most of the offense going, I guess, for Cashman and Peterson are on different lines, but Kim had multiple points, Cashman had multiple points, so kind of interesting. Our top line decided to take the night off after having a great regular season, which I don't blame them. They were fantastic during the regular season, so Bell and Ackerstrom are +2. Oh yeah, I forgot about that we have an injury to, who was it? Who was the guy that was injured? Oh, yeah, was it Whitfield? No, I think there was somebody else that was injured. It was somebody on the defensive core. I can't remember who. But somebody was injured, and they're out for the entire playoffs, I think it was. Wasn't it the case? I don't even remember. But Gionta with a fantastic game. But Ackerstrom's come in and played some good defensive hockey so far, which is good. So Gionta the first star of the game, Knight the second star, and Cashman the third star. But I don't remember who was injured. I got to go to our lines now because I honestly don't remember for some weird reason. But I'm pretty sure we lost a defenseman until July. I just can't remember who it was. I don't know if it was anybody super important. It might have been Lee or somebody like that. Oh, no, it was Mahalik, I think, actually, now that I'm thinking about it. I think it was Mahalik, right? Yeah, I think it was, Mahalik, yeah. Mahalik's out for the entire playoffs, so it seems like that top pairing can do okay with Ackerstrom being up there with Bell, so I like that. Ackerstrom's not the best defenseman in the world, but since he's joined the team and played in the lineup, he's been really good in the plus-minus department. So that is good to see. And it looks like he's had a fight already in his first 15 NHL games, which is kind of weird. So not too bad from Ackerstrom. Hopefully he continues to help us out defensively in this postseason. But let's continue to build off that first game. That was a good first game. I don't like that we allowed Larmour to score a goal because obviously once he gets going, he scores a lot of goals. But we also managed to contain him for the rest of the game after that. So let's see if we can continue to build off that first game and get our first 2 home games with wins potentially. So come on, boys. Let's build off that game. Let's see what happens. Game 2, back on home ice. Let's take this 2-0 series lead if possible. First period. 1-1. Okay, that's a little bit worse than last time, but that's still good. Ristolainen opens the scoring, so good to see our top line on the board. Ristolainen, of course, led the team in goals this season. Stelwitz was number 2. But Joe Iginla answers back a couple minutes later. Shots are relatively even again, 12-10. So I think this game, the series has been pretty even still. Even game one, shots were pretty even. We did win by 2 goals, but obviously that empty netter was a big one. So yeah, this has definitely been a close series, but it's definitely been a little bit more quieter on the offensive side of things than expected. Can we find a way to get that lead back in the second period? Second period? 4-1 Albuquerque. Goddamn, there's our top line again. Kolarz makes it 2-1 late. Literally 15 seconds later, Ristolainen scores his second goal of the night, and Capaduca scores with 1:58 left. We're up by 3 goals going into the third. That's a nice little cushion we have. We're outshooting 27-17. So pretty dominant period. Also looks like Spencer Knight was not in for any of those goals. So I guess they're playing their backup because both of them are similar overalls, if I'm not mistaken. So maybe Spencer Knight's still dropping off an overall. But they are running Hentonen in net tonight, which is kind of weird. So I don't know why they're doing that when Spencer Knight should be the better of the two. But let's see if we can lock this game down in the third period and take both of our home games. Come on, boys. Just got to play good defensively like we did last game. Ristolainen completes the hat trick. What a guy. I swear he had a lot of hat tricks last year in the playoffs as well, but he's been fantastic. Another power play goal, this one from Delisle. So our power play is still scoring some more goals. And there's Ackerstrom with his first career NHL goal. He didn't have any in the 15 regular season games. He makes it 7-1. As we are, that's an offensive game that Senator Talk was mentioning about, but Utah has not been able to find their offense so far. As we take this one 7-1 and only allow 1 goal on 30 shots. So another strong game from Gionta and an even stronger game from our offensive core as well. So, goddamn. Loving to see this team simulate like this. And Ackerstrom had another fight. So he had a fight during the regular season, I guess, and he's already had a fight in the playoffs. So Ackerstrom is definitely trying to fight his way into being a full-time guy on this defensive core. So Ristolainen from Bell, we had Kolarz from Norena and Ristolainen from Kolarz and Staubitz, Capaduca from Cashman, Ristolainen from Kolarz and Staubitz, Delisle from Cashman and Peterson, and Ackerstrom from Norena and Hennessy. So that top line pretty much took over in that game. 4-point night for Ristolainen, a hat trick and an assist. You had Kolarz on 3 points, Cashman, Norena, and Staubitz on 2 points, and a couple guys on 1 point. And in that pairing of Ackerstrom and Bell, great plus minus. Ackerstrom was a +4 tonight. Bell was a +3. So those guys through 2 games have been like +6 and +5, if I'm not mistaken. And another great game from Gionta. Everything's working well so far. I mean, we got to obviously continue this on the road, but really liking the way we're simulating. So Ristolainen first star, Kolarz second star, and Gionta the third star of the game. So everything's been working well so far. We're outscoring them 10-2 through 2 games. Just got to keep that momentum rolling. And like I said, we can't just win on home ice, though. We got to also win on the road, too. So, good start, but there's still a long way to go at the moment. I think we got to keep the team obviously the same because everything's been working well so far. This could end up being a quick episode, potentially. But let's see if we could win in Utah as well, or is Utah going to give us a little bit more of a run for their money? Because their only goals so far are Lauren Moore and Iginla. So they have been getting goals from their top line, but they haven't been getting enough, and they haven't been getting enough depth scoring as well. So can we find a way to take this 3-0 series lead and also find a way to win on the road? Let's see what happens. Game 3. Come on, boys. Keep on building on it. This has been a great effort so far. First period, Game 3. 2-0 Utah. Okay, I knew eventually we were going to probably lose the game just for some reason. But Adamski scores 2 goals in the first period. 2 minutes in, 1 later in the period. Shots are 14-10 in favor of Utah. So Utah has found their best offensive game after only 1 period, which is not a great sign. Do we have a response in the second period? Because if we could even get 1 goal back, we could definitely still tie it. I know we have the offensive capability. Let's not let our offense get suffocated after scoring 7 goals, because that could happen. We could all of a sudden and just not score goals after that last game. So let's have a strong second period here. Let's get good goaltending again from Gionta like he did in the first 2 games. And let's see if we could start clawing back offensively. Second period. 3-0 Utah. Goddamn. Lauren Moore scores his second goal of the series. It's a power play goal. Shots are 26-21 in favor of them. This could be the trend where the home team continues to win most of the games, or they could win 4 straight randomly against us too. But not a great effort from the team so far. 3 goals on 26 shots isn't terrible for Gionta, but obviously our offense, after scoring 7 goals, has been pretty quiet in this one, which is not a great sign for future games. But let's see if we could get maybe something going for our next game in a third period. I don't think we're going to come back in this game. There is still a chance, but obviously a time means we need to basically score early if we want to have actually a chance to win this game. So third period, let's get it done. And yeah, let's see if we could find something to get ourselves going for next game, because we got to win in Utah at least one of these games, right? But so far, not a best game for our team. We are generating some chances, though. We are out shooting them, but their goaltending has been much better in this one than it was in the last game. And unfortunately, after scoring 7 goals, we do not get shut out, because I just decided to jinx it. Capaduca scores at 9 seconds left, so we did break the shutout at least. And we end up losing 3-1 like we did end up winning in Game 1. So Utah gets their first win of the series, and it's pretty much almost back to square one at this point in time, unless we find a way to win the next game. So our only goal is Capaduca from Peterson and Kim. So who is out there for the goals against? Cashman, Delisle, Hennessy, Narena, not a surprise, and Hurd. So it's the usual suspects that are out there, because usually Narena and Hurd are the type of guys that are out there for goals against. And Gionta 903, I mean, Gionta was okay in that game. I wouldn't say he was a bad thing. But Hentonen definitely responded after last game where he wasn't that good. So they definitely are starting Hentonen over Spencer Knight now, which is interesting. Adamski, obviously those first 2 period goals, got second star. Larmour, the third star of the game. I don't know if I should make any line adjustments yet, because obviously going from a 7-goal game to a 1-goal game isn't ideal, but obviously we're still leading the series. So if we lose this next game and obviously our offense isn't playing good, we will make some adjustments. But right now it could be the home ice team is going to win most of these games. Unless it could be that, yeah, the home team wins until Game 7 and then it changes or something like that. I honestly don't know. But I'm not trying to script whatever happens in the series. Let's continue. And let's see if we can get a good response from our team here in Game 4. And if we don't get that response, like I said, I obviously can make some adjustments to try and get us to play back like we did in the first 2 games. But let's see what happens here. Game 4, still in Utah. Let's see if we can find a way to win one of these games on the road at least. First period. Yikes, I feel like we're going to lose 4 straight all of a sudden. 3-0 Utah after the first period. We've had 2 back-to-back games with rough first periods. Last game we allowed 2 goals. This game we allowed 3 goals. 3 goals on 12 shots. There is a chance Gionta could be yanked after that first period. Dmitriev, Iginla, and Frank have their goals. We are out shooting them 13-12 somehow, but we just can't find ways to score right now. And all of their goals are from similar spots on the ice, which is kind of weird. One of them way off to the side, which is a little bit strange. So definitely got to get some better goaltending here from Gionta if he wants to stay in net, because we know that last year he was struggling quite a bit. Like, he had some really good games, but he also had some really bad ones. Maybe we go to Harakala at some point, but obviously we need that defensive core to play a little bit better as well in front of him. Let's see if we could find a way to claw back into this in the second period at all. Second period, 5-1. Oh my goodness. We are down 5-0. Harakala did come in after that first period. They scored 2 goals 5 seconds apart. How does that even happen? That's almost impossible. Like, you have to skate down the ice right away and shoot it again. Goddamn, Harakala's off to a terrible start. Staubitz at least broke the shutout with 14 seconds left. But we are shooting them 29-20, yet we're down by 4 goals. 1 out of every 4 shots of theirs has been a goal, which is not great. So definitely need to make some adjustments after this game. But I feel like we could lose 4 straight after that 7-goal game, just because we scored too much goals in that one game. But it's been a very weird series up to this point. Very weird and very inconsistent for both teams in that matter. Because they've had some really bad defensive games, but we've also had very bad defensive games. So it's been strange. How do we have so much shots on goal, yet we're down by 4 goals? And we're going to lose 5-1 despite outshooting them 44-31. So their goaltender is all of a sudden completely woken up out of the grave. He was terrible in that game we won 7-1, but goddamn, our only goal from our captain and our top line had points on all that, so that's not great. Who was badly plus minus in that game? It was the top line that was out there for most of the goals, and Bell, after having some really good games early on in the series, was -4. Ackerstrom was -3. So yeah, the top line got completely blown up somehow. I don't know how they did. And Harakala was apparently actually pretty good in that game. He actually, oh wow, it was only 5 minutes before Gionta got pulled. He allowed 3 goals in the first 5 minutes of the game. Giannis still shows that inconsistency in the playoff every single year. God damn it. 33.44 goals against average. That's insane. And then Harakala came in for 54 minutes. Only allowed 2 goals, and they were in a quick span. But he was pretty solid in that. I still should probably start Giannis since he's the starting guy, but I honestly don't know after a game like that. Like, I don't know if it's to blame the defensive core or what, but those 3 goals that we allowed earlier, our top line was out for every single one of them, which is a little bit worrisome. All right, so we got to make some adjustments. After we outscored them 10-2, they've outscored us now in the last 2 games 8-2. So it's been a pretty even series still technically at this point, but I feel definitely a little bit strange about how our team is assimilated. Like, our goals against is definitely not as good as it was during the regular season, and our goals for... Actually, wait, it says our goals against is actually good right now in the playoffs. I think. I don't even know. Anyways, it could be glitched. Let's make some adjustments to our lineup here. I just don't really know exactly what we want to do to make us simulate better. Delisle could go into the top 6, hypothetically. Could go something like that. Capaduca's getting power play time, so he should be okay. He has actually been one of the better players, but got to switch something with the lineup a little bit. I'm definitely not splitting up the top line, even though they were minus a lot the last game. They're just too good. How has this 4th line been? Pretty much doing nothing. No offense, no bad defense. They barely get any ice time anyways. But the defense has been a little bit weird here. At top pair's still plus, but they had a rough time last game. Let's swap Ackerstrom and Whitfield. Whitfield had a great offense in the regular season. So far in the playoffs, has not done a single thing though. But he had 53 points in the regular season, so let's put him all the way back up. I could move Narena into the top 4 as well. We might actually, yeah, let's do that. Let's do that as a change. And then Giannis got still at 920, surprisingly, despite the last 2 games being a little bit rougher for him. So we probably will still run with him. Harakala could come back in soon, but we'll run with Giannis again. We could always put Lambert back in, who was good defensively last year in the playoffs, but he's more offensive. And Ahinen hasn't played in the NHL in a few years. So I don't think he's worth probably putting back in the lineup right now. So we'll see what ends up happening now with this. But it's not really that much adjustments. Like, our offensive core, I don't think has been a huge problem. It's more about keeping the puck out of the net the last 2 games. So let's hope that these reworked defensive pairings maybe help things out a bit. And if Giannis has another tough game here, I might go to Harakala for the next game, but not too sure yet. Because obviously we gave Giannis a big contract. He had a great regular season, so he should probably still be the starting guy at this point in time. But let's get to Game 5. Obviously, it's anybody's series at this point in time. Let's see if we can respond after 2 really bad road games and get back to winning like we were on home ice in the first 2 games. Come on, boys. Let's find that offensive touch and that defensive touch again as well. First period of game number 5. 2-0 Utah. That's the 3rd straight game we've allowed multiple goals in the first period. This time we're actually being outshot 14-8. I definitely feel like we're going to lose 4 straight games. They had to give me some false hope with the first 2 games of the series, huh? That's not a great start for our team again, especially defensively. And then our goaltending has been pretty bad from Giannis the last few games. I honestly might go to Harakala the next game at this point in time. Like, we have nothing to lose almost. But, yeah, that's not great. If Utah ends up beating us, I definitely think they could end up going to the Cup Finals this year. But a rough start for our team. Can we respond in the second period and maybe make me rethink what I just thought in that first period? Second period? Okay, they can. Okay, I was not expecting that, to be honest. I was not expecting that. An early goal from Kim got us on the board. We were down 2-1. Staubitz, the captain's like, guys, we're not giving up yet. We are definitely a good team. We just need to find ways to score goals. So he ties the game up. And then Doig scores his first career playoff goal. That's Caleb Doig, because Esteban Doig left the team last season. But that's a really, really good response in that second period. Definitely shows that we still have that touch in us, which is great. Shots are 22-21 in favor of us as well. We're up by 1 goal. It was a really good period. Let's see if we could lock it down in this third period and get some insurance and maybe get our series lead back. Let's see what happens. Come on, boys. I believe in you. Just got to get some more insurance markers. and play good defensive hockey like you did in the first 2 games of the series. And Larmour ties it up. Of course he does. Penalty kill. Stop taking penalties, boys. Got to be disciplined. Come on, boys. Let's get that lead back. Let's get that lead back. Final few minutes here of Game 5. Ristolainen. Let's go. Ristolainen and Kappaduka, the empty netter. And Kolars gets one just because he says our offense has been too quiet as of late. We win 6-3 in Game 5. Ristolainen with 2:32 left, an empty netter with 45 seconds left from Kappaduka. And then Kolars decides just to add insult to injury, scoring with 6 seconds left. But we have taken back the series lead. And so far, the home team has not lost a game yet, which is a bit scary. But what a response from us after that first period. That's exactly what I want to see from the team. If we go down early, find a way to respond a bit in the second. Like, get back into the game at least. But Kim from Delisle and Peterson, Staubitz unassisted. We had Doig's first career playoff goal from Bell, Ristolainen from Staubitz and Norena, Kappaduka from Cashman and Hennessy, and Kolars from Ristolainen and Kim. It's always our top guys that are getting points in these playoffs, it seems like, as well. Ristolainen, Staubitz, and Kim all with 2 points. We had a lot of guys on 1 point as well, which is kind of surprising. And then if we load at a plus-minus, that top pairing, again, back to being really good in plus-minus. Actually, they weren't even on the top pairing together this time around because I adjusted it, but it's still Ackerstrom got 23 minutes. That's kind of strange. Maybe it's because Mahalik was always getting all the penalty kill time and stuff like that as well. But Ackerstrom and Bell, really good plus-minus in this game. After last game, they were not so much. And 903 again from Giantas. So as long as Gianta could post over a 900 save percentage, we have a chance in games, I think. Ristolainen, Staubitz, and Kim, the 3 stars of the game, all with 2 points. All right, so a really good response from the team, especially after that first period. And now we head back to Utah, looking to win our first road game of this playoffs. And Whitfield has been injured. So he got some elevated ice time 5-on-5, and he ends up getting injured with a sore knee. He'll be out till the 27th, which means we are going to just go replace player for a second, but we are going to have to call up a defenseman from the minors because Mahalik is currently also injured on defense. It's not long term, so Whitfield will be back relatively soon. He could be back for next round easily if we get there. But we do have to call somebody up from the minors, which is unfortunate because I didn't want to run into AHL players yet, but from a defensive standpoint, it's probably going to be Janicki, I guess. Yeah, Janicki's going to make his debut. Actually, we could call up Lee. Actually, yeah, we'll call up Lee because Lee's the one that's making the big bucks. And you guys were saying that there was no reason for us to bring back Lee. Well, I guess maybe now there is because of the fact we suffered multiple defensive injuries this playoff. So Jordan Lee is going to come back up. And hopefully bringing him back up is going to help us out from a defensive standpoint to things. So let's just go back to the AHL here and just make sure somebody's in that spot. We'll go with that. Boom. And just swap the 2. Maybe. I don't even know. And I don't even think that's a minus pairing. I think it's just glitched still. Extra attacker. Let's just put in the highest overall player, which is going to be Dag. We could still call up Dag from the AHL at some point, but I don't think we need him up here yet. But from a defensive standpoint, it was going to throw Lambert in on defense. And you can see it's a -5. So you can see why I had to call up a defenseman there. And why we might have held on to Lee for that reason. We will get Norena back onto the top pairing this time because he's got that offense. I think Lee will probably play on the top 6 with Hurd. Just to help Hurd out defensively a bit. Because I know sometimes he could be a bit of a liability. So I think the rest of that's good. But yeah, Whitfield will be back relatively soon. But having Lee as that other option is okay with me. I know he's going to probably lose morale because of ice time and stuff like that or something like that. But he's not happy on this team already. But I think getting back into the NHL for a few games for him hopefully helps him get a little bit more happy before he gets probably sent back down to the minors again. But it is not a great time for an injury. At least Whitfield wasn't really doing anything like he was during the regular season, but he has been having a little bit of injury trouble this season, it seems like. So anyways, with that said, let's get to Game 6. Let's get to Game 6. It was a great response from our team last game. And let's see if we could find a way to win our first road game of the playoffs. If we could win this road game, we will go to the next round. If we don't, I feel like we could lose still in Game 7, which is quite scary. So it's been a very weird series anyways at this point. Let's see if we can build off last game and find a way to close this out. Lee's first NHL game in a probably around a year, because I think last year he played a little bit with us in the playoffs, but let's see if we can get a response here. First period of game number 6. 2-0 us. Okay, now we get off to the good start offensively. That's good to see. Both goals were exactly a minute apart. Bell scores 16-22. Ristolainen scores 15-22. So Ristolainen and the top line has been fantastic so far for us in the series. Shots are 16-10 in favor of us as well. So that's a great first period by comparison to last game, to game before that, and the game before that. Because we had 3 straight games where we allowed multiple goals in the first period, but we don't allow any here, which is good. The scary thing is they could do what we did to them last game. So we got to be careful in the second period. Don't allow them to get anything back in this period, and get maybe some more insurance just to make it a bit more safe. Second period, 3-0. Okay, now I feel a little bit more safe. Staubitz with the power play goal. Shots are 27-19 in favor of us. It's a good game so far. Our offense has been good. Our defense has been good. Our goaltending has been good. We're almost getting back to the way we were in the first 2 games of the series, and we're 20 minutes away from potentially going to the second round. Can we find a way to lock down Utah and get that first road win of the playoffs? Come on, boys. Power play for us early. We do not score on it, but it took time off the clock. Penalty kill. We kill it off. Nicely done. Yeah, we're definitely playing stronger defensively in this game so far, which is a great sign. Final few minutes, Perron has to break the shutout for Gionta. It makes it a 3-1 game. Can we still hold them off? Penalty kill late in the game, and we killed it off. Final few seconds. We're going to the next round. It was not pretty, I would say, but we do get it done, and we survive potentially getting cheesed by Utah. That's a huge series for our team. Hopefully we continue to build off that good first series. Like I said, some rough games in there, but winning this one 3-1, getting back to the basics, good defense, good offense, I will definitely take it. So let's see what I got here. I don't know why it keeps on disconnecting me from the EA servers. It's kind of annoying. But anyways, Bell from Peterson and Kim, Ristolainen from Kollars and Staubitz from Ristolainen and Kim. Or not Kim and Kollars, goddamn. That entire top line was fantastic. And we should have some good plus minuses results again here. Yeah, just +1 on a lot of guys. -1 from that line, but that's okay. And then another good effort from Gionta. So Gionta had 3 really solid games in the series, which is definitely going to help us out a lot. And he gets first start of game, Risto to second, and Staubitz the third. So it was not a pretty series, like I said, but we got it done. First 2 games, they outscored them 10-2. Next 2 games, they outscored us 8-2. And then we won 6-3 in a huge comeback win after a bad first period. Then we win this one 3-1 like we did in game 1. So definitely an interesting series. Hopefully we can build off that into the next round. We will be fully healthy almost by next round because Mahalik isn't going to come back at any time this series or the season. But Whitfield will be back probably early into this next round, which is good. It looks like the Ducks are going to the next round, which is kind of interesting because the Ducks did win the President's Trophy. So I'm kind of surprised that they actually managed to get it done in the first round as well. But let's take a look at our player stats for the first round of the playoffs. And then we'll see who we're going up against, obviously, in round numero dos. So in terms of forward stats here, let's actually just go forwards. Risto had 9 points in 6 games. He's still playing fantastic in the playoffs. Obviously, last year he was fantastic in the playoffs. This year he's so far as well. Staubitz and Kollars both have 7 points apiece as well. We have Kim on 6 points, Peterson on 5, Cashman on 5, Capaduca, Hennessy, Delisle on 3. And then our fourth line, only 1 goal from Doig, and Heatley and Malak don't have any points, but that's all right. That's all right. From a defensive standpoint, Bell on 3 points, +5. We have Narena on 3 assists, +1. And we have Ackerstrom on a +7. Ackerstrom's been pretty good defensively in his his NHL career so far at this point, because he was a +7 in 15 regular season games, and now so far in the playoffs he's a +7 as well. Lee played 1 game, was an even 0. Whitfield was -1 through 5 games, so maybe it's okay that he got injured. I don't even know. And all that. And then from a goaltending perspective, a .925 from Gionta, despite allowing like multiple goals, or 5 goals was it in 1 game? And then Hirikala with a .920. Yeah, Gionta got yanked so early from that game too, yet he has still a .925. That's kind of impressive. Kind of impressive. All right, so a pretty solid first round for the most part. No minus players except for Whitfield, Hennessy, and Delisle. And we had a lot of production from a lot of guys and good goaltending. So the question is now, obviously, who are we playing in round 2, and is it a team we could beat? It will be determined here shortly, I think. It will be the St. Louis Blues. Okay, St. Louis, a really good team. 58, 18, and 6. They did fall off a little bit as the season went on, but this is going to be a very heavyweight matchup. The winner will face either the President's Trophy winning Ducks or the Vancouver Canucks. You also have Ottawa and Pittsburgh, and then you have Philadelphia and Montreal. So, yeah, Del Monte is still in the playoffs. And aside from that, no other former players I know of are in the playoffs at the moment. But St. Louis is going to be a very tough task. I completely forgot of how good they were during the season, but if we go to the regular season stats, you can see they finished 3 points back of us. We both had very good seasons. Obviously, we were better in goals for and everything else, but you can see that they still didn't necessarily score the most goals per game. They scored 3.6, which is still good, but obviously compared to us, it's not that much. They still had really good defense during the regular season. Their power play percentage, though, that's a little bit of a rough power play, when ours is like 20% better. And then their penalty kill was not too bad either, but it could be a little bit better. So their special teams need maybe a bit of work, but they're really good on home ice, a little bit more average on the road, but still really good. 8-2 in their last 10 games going into the playoffs. All right. How about playoff-wise so far? How did they do in their first round matchup? Let's go to Western Conference, make it a bit easier. So they won their first series in 7 games. They scored 2.43 goals for per game, so their offense is off to a low start. They also allowed more than they scored, yet they still won in that series. So I do feel like we could get cheese, so to speak, but they are a good team, so maybe not cheese is the right word. They were 10.5% on the power play, so their power play wasn't great in that first round. And their penalty kill is actually pretty good at 95.8%. All right. Okay, so let's take a look at what their lineup looks like, because I think we played them recently, haven't we, in the playoffs? I feel like we have. I just got to double check, though, for fun. Let's see. When did we play St. Louis last in the playoffs? Maybe it hasn't been a while. Maybe it was quite a while ago. Looks like episode 29 might be the last time we actually played them in a playoff series. And that was what round? Round number 1. Oh, okay, so that was the year that they eliminated us in the first round after I think we made it to the conference finals one year, I think, if I'm not mistaken. But let's see what their lineup is looking like now all these years later. Obviously, they should probably have some similar players, but I'm not too sure. Not too sure at all. Oh man, that Ducks team is going to be filthy if we have to run into them in the conference finals or something. But St. Louis is going to be a tough task. Here is their lineup, and they could technically identify as a cheese team. They somehow had a 58-win season with this 4 group. I don't know how, but they did. Kincaid, Dvorsky, Martone is the top line. Second line has Tyler Kamachi, Mikhail Kabanov, and Mason McTavish still playing at 36. Third line, Fabian Lysell at 36 as well. Zach Bolduc at 36. And Emil Hemming at 32. And a fourth line is Stefan Bonnet, or Bonnet, something like that. Xavier Bourgault's there on 36 years old. And Mikhail Shirokov. It's probably Shirokov or Shirokov. I don't know. 33 years old. So this is a bit of an older St. Louis Blues team. Like, they do have one younger guy on the top line in Kincaid, but a lot of 30-year-olds in this lineup. So they're definitely more of a veteran-based team. From a defensive standpoint, they do still have this pairing. I do remember this pairing. This pairing was together a couple times when we played them in the playoffs. Lapalainen and Landon DuPont. How good have they assimilated recently? Landon hasn't assimilated as good the last 2 years, but he's still really good. And then Lapalainen, still really good as well. Yeah, that's a really good top pairing. I remember them from a few years back. No Stanley Cup wins for either of them, which means the St. Louis Blues has never won a Stanley Cup, but DuPont has a Norris Trophy. Second pairing, Theo Lidstein and Ola Ledin. I feel like those guys were there last time, too, when we played them. Devin Kolyakovo and Gage Green. What a name, GG. Gage Green. Okay. So that's their defensive core, which definitely screams more cheese other than that top pairing. And goaltending, Sergei Kazanov. I think he's always been a Blue. He has won 2 Vezina trophies and 2 Jennings as well, so I have seen him up there in stats before. Former pick of the Montreal Canadiens. He's only been in St. Louis the last 3 years, but look at his numbers since joining St. Louis. Incredible. Because when he was in Montreal, he was posting like 9.0 save percentages, but since joining the Blues, he's got a 9.19, a 9.15, and a 9.16 the last 3 seasons. And so far in the playoffs, he has a .915 this year, which is a career high. So he's a very good goaltender, and we got to be aware about that. And then our backup, Fabian Merritt. Don't think I've ever seen this guy before. He's only played, actually he played in Calgary a bit, Seattle. I don't think we ever played against him before though. Okay. And then from a scratch perspective, who do they got? Yanni Neiman. They also have Ryan Brown, the most basic white name ever. And then Callie Nyquist as well. Yeah, I feel like we definitely are the better team, obviously, on paper, but they definitely could identify as a cheese team, even though they had such a good regular season. So I don't know how they got such good numbers out of their team, but they did. Kincaid scored 61 goals. Yeah, they definitely aren't an offensive team, because their top line was only averaging 60, 50 points this season. So they're definitely more structured around defense and also their veteran play, I guess. So kind of interesting that they had 58 wins, but hopefully we can find a way to beat them and get ourselves to that conference finals against either a tough Ducks team or the Canucks. But it's still going to be a tough task, even if that Blues team is a bit of a cheese team. So anyways, guys, that's going to do it for this episode of Albuquerque Aliens Draft to Glory franchise mode. So in next episode, we will take on the St. Louis Blues in the second round of playoffs as we look to get ourselves to that conference finals. Hopefully we can find a way to do it. We had a pretty solid first round, some hiccups here and there, but we still managed to get it done. But the St. Louis Blues team is definitely going to pose a bit more of a threat than I would expect. And I hope if we get to the conference finals that we don't have to run into the Ducks, because obviously them winning the President's Trophy this year, they're also a huge threat. So there's still a lot of good teams out there. And I don't even know if we're still technically a favorite to win the Stanley Cup this year. So I think that below, and I'll see you guys next time.